The unexplainable has plagued humanity since the dawn of time. If something went wrong, or if humans didn't like the way something turned out, they often blamed their god or an otherworldly force. This began when people pointed fingers at supposed witches and went as far as to kill the accused. In the medieval times, people often said that if a person had a disability or bad luck, that God looked down on them. And that was that, because people didn't have good foundations in science in those days. They sought to explain things that their mind could not comprehend, because religion and fables were all they knew. As time went on, people began to explain the unexplainable. A bad year for crops was actually due to weather changes. A loved one dying at a young age was due to a bacterium or virus. Soon, people weeded out these old notions of ghosts, witches, and punishment from deities. To this day, though, the unexplainable still exists. Take, for example, Bigfoot. Many claim to see it, and some have even taken photos. The credibility of these photos is another matter. Even the most famous footage of Bigfoot, the Patterson footage, was proven wrong in the early 2000s, when the man who Patterson hired to wear the costume stepped forward. He donned the cryptid costume for $500. The Loch Ness Monster. The best-known image, an old black and white photo of what appears to be a serpentine creature, was proven wrong as well. The man who took the photo confessed that it was a forced perspective of a small model of a serpentine dragon. These two cryptids are merely the tip of the iceberg. There are many more unexplained creatures, but there is one who still haunts the minds of many people in the eastern United States. Mothman. The Mothman, or just Mothman, is described as a large humanoid creature, standing about 7 to 9 feet tall. It, or he, has been seen as brown, gray, white, and even just a shadow. Mothman was first described in 1966 by a group of gravediggers in West Virginia who claimed to have seen the behemoth fly over their heads as they worked, feeling a large gust of wind and seeing a brown mass disappear into the night. Mothman was seen again only 3 days later in Point Pleasant, Ohio, when two couples saw a creature in the distance while on a double date in the woods. After the teenagers saw Mothman, they made it back to the car and decided to leave just to be safe. Mothman followed them at speeds at about 100 miles per hour. Once the car left the woods, Mothman was gone. The 4 teenagers described the creature to the police. Their reports were identical. The creature was white and had wings, and stood about 7 feet tall. It had glowing red eyes, and moved lightning fast. Eyewitnesses say that Mothman's wingspan is about 10 feet long, and the eyes are 6 inches apart. Mothman cannot run very well, however. Mothman would continue to show himself to the people of Point Pleasant 8 times after the first encounter. The most well-known encounter is the collapse of the Silver Bridge. The Silver Bridge fell in 1967, and Point Pleasant still mourns over it. Just as eyewitnesses claimed to have seen Mothman fly off the top of the bridge, it shook, swayed, and broke, sending 46 people down to their deaths in the water. Scientists dismissed Mothman as a sandhill crane, a bird that stands as tall as a man and dons red flesh around its eyes. Some say that Mothman is just a creation of some prankster who managed to get the word out to enough people. Paranoia and mob mentality did the rest. Nevertheless, Point Pleasant still holds Mothman dear to their heart, and even has a statue for him. Sometimes they hold a festival in his honor. Point Pleasant may see Mothman as more of a mascot now than any kind of threat, but Mothman has made his debut in many other places. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen Mothman right before the Chernobyl meltdown, Japan's nuclear meltdown, and even 9/11. He has earned the reputation of being an omen of death. Others see Mothman as an angel of death, warning humanity of impending doom. Some even believe that Mothman is a demon. The sightings of Mothman have decreased since the late 90s and early 2000s, but that does not mean that Mothman has left us for good. Some think that nothing big enough to lure the Point Pleasant creature out of his dormancy has yet to happen. Do you believe in Mothman? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and maybe even subscribe to my channel. If there is another creature or myth you'd like me to talk about, or a scary story you'd like me to narrate, email me or leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody.